Hello everyone, Jason Meyer here, and my two lovely assistants have the night off. And Tom, here we go. I like that spirit. Let's take off. So if you're new around here, my name's Jason. We're going to be doing, after I tell you about what's going on, I'll be giving you about a 5-minute introduction into what we'll be doing tonight. But before then, um, what before then? Is there anything before then? Any introductions? What did I forget to say? I don't know. We've this is the third show today, so I may be a little loony. So why don't we just head right over to the iPad and talk about what we're going to be doing. So we will be spending the entire 20 minutes on this drawing, and we've spent 15 minutes on it up to this point. So the question is, where do we spend our time, and how do we refine it? How do we make it stronger? And I'd like to answer that question by talking a little bit about the patterns I use, since we have a few extra minutes tonight. So what if we just got rid of that and we took a background color, let's just say it about 65%. And then, so when I say painters are basically pattern makers. So the patterns that I make start with value, and what value is simply how light or dark something is. So there's the darkest value, and then here would be like a gray value, and then we could have the tone of the paper, and then have a quote-unquote white value. Right? And so what we're doing as painters, for instance, a grape no longer necessarily is a grape. We know the general shape of a grape. We can represent it by a dark, and I can stick a highlight on that. And all well and good. What else can I say about that? Well, I can say it's sitting on a table. I give it a cast shadow. If there's a stem, right? And then what else might I do with it? Well, if I take this third value, then I can use that to make that dark note quieter or louder, whatever's needed or desired. All right, let's see. Then if we include some soften edges. Now simply with that light dark pattern, we have got a grape. And so for those of you who haven't been around, who haven't seen me, that's basically what we're doing, is taking these values and making them into a pattern that says something. Rini made it tonight. Hey Rini, welcome, welcome. So we're just going over a basic grape pattern here and how we're going to improve the drawing tonight. And this is all, most of this is already in here, so I'll be expanding these dark shapes, and then even within the grays, I may give some more to less and things like that. As always, you can check out jasonmeyer.com under Sketch Club Live, and you'll find the reference images for the week. So you'll find the one that we're doing tonight, plus the 3 other ones that we did earlier in the week. All right, so my clock says 7 o'clock. Has everybody got all their stuff and ready to go? Yeah, the scene is a little bit different tonight. I've been going wild. Cliff Bass is here. Cliff, good to see you, my friend. been going wild, going live on YouTube. So if you haven't checked that out, go over there and check out meyerstudio.com on YouTube. And why don't we get rolling? All right. Hey, Susan. Susan says hi to everybody. Okay, here we go. So I've had a 15-minute head start, 5 minutes Sunday, 10 minutes Tuesday, and then we'll spend another 20 minutes on this tonight. So that flower, I'm going to indicate, at least in the light, as a white. The back side of that cantaloupe's going to have some white on it. And of course the grape highlights will have some white on it. I'm going to add some leaves to this composition tonight and turn this kind of blah into something what at least I think's exciting. I don't know. May not be exciting enough for you, but it's exciting enough for me. By the way, it's really not the subject matter that determines if it's exciting or not, but it's the value pattern. Oh, check Cindy out. Man, I feel sorry for you guys. You guys should have a Cindy. So in the comments below, she's put the link in right to the reference images. So all you got to do is hit that link in the comments, and that'll take you to the reference images on the website. So since it's just a light dark pattern, rather than highlighting every grape, what I'm thinking about is how should that white, those white marks, that white pattern move across the canvas. Right? So you see how I'm arcing it up over the cantaloupe, basically in the opposite side way that the cantaloupe is arched. Oh, some force and counterforce, say you. Yeah, so all your movement and action comes from your light dark pattern. Okay, because you could draw and paint a race car standing still, right? Or we can draw a cantaloupe booking down the road. Right? When I say booking down the road, it'd be standing still, but maybe some wind or atmosphere or something's wafting over it. And so you get all the action and movement that you might in a race car. All right, hopefully that's not too abstract. I know at least most of you have heard some of this before. One way it's abstract, and another way it's very concrete. Right? The thing I have in my hand right now can't draw a grape, it can't draw a stem. All it can do is make a dark mark or a gray mark. So if I'm thinking in terms of the marks I want, then me and that thing in my hand, well, I guess we'd go hand in hand then, wouldn't we? So this is an intense month. Cindy wanted to see if she could break an introvert. So this is my third live show today, and we got one more after this. So you guys have to tune in all month to see if I can keep it together. Or if all this verbalizing finally breaks me. So this is just a leaf. You can see I put one back behind the cantaloupe in light. And then I'm making a stem that's going to come out. And the shape of that leaf mimics that of a grape, doesn't it? So how am I going to distinguish that from the grape? Well, those leaves are flat. So what happens with flat objects is the highlight or the light goes on the edge. Whereas if you look on the grapes, that light or highlight goes in the center. And that one little change in that pattern making takes something from flat to spherical. And again, that's the easy part. You know, sometimes people argue with that, going, well, I want to be creative. I want to do it my own way. This part isn't really where the creativity comes in, but it's how are you going to design that dark? And then what exact measure, how far will that gray be from that dark? I know when I first heard this, it all sounded a little silly, but I just suggest people don't be creative with the gimmies. Take the gimmies and then let the creativity happen elsewhere. All right. So a couple hundred years of people have figured something out. Well, let's just go ahead and take that knowledge and let's build on it or do something different. But unless for some reason you think they're wrong, then yeah, challenge it. But until you have enough experience, just take the basics. Think about it in a light dark pattern. And that's simplified because there is 4 values. So as I darken this background, what will happen is that cantaloupe will seem, or that slice of cantaloupe will seem to get lighter. And notice how I keep almost a strip kind of light there. And that's going to draw you to, boom, back to that light. Right, we're going to go on a journey. It may not be as fast as a race car, but it'll be a nice walk in the woods. So like always, if you're happy with how yours turns out, we hope you'll share them in the comments with us. Claudia made it. Hey, it's a little late. Well, I think I was a little late seeing that and putting it up, so 1 for 1 there. One for one. And here what I'm doing is I'm evening that tone. And notice how the look changes as we even the tone out. And what that means is, if you look at kind of the top of the paper where I haven't done it yet, you see kind of a light, dark, light, dark, light, dark pattern right there. And by going over it with the stump, I just even that out to more of an even gray. And that has the effect of releasing the eye, kind of letting the whole thing hold as a note, rather than having to try to figure out and decipher what's going on within that note. All right, the back edge of that leaf, like blow that out a little bit. That'll help that leaf go from near to far. So we're not quite halfway on this tonight. So what I'm going to be doing now is a lot of playing with these tones, evening them out and then I'm going to hit these darks, I don't know, 1, 2, maybe 3 more times up front, just to pull that bottom part of the paper forward. And the thing I love about charcoal and oil paints is that process, that kind of building process. And it's not immediate. It's not immediate. So today is Thursday. I record these every Saturday, and I have been so busy with technology and live streaming that I could really use some help on next week's reference images. So if you got some things you'd like to paint, if some of you horse people and animal people have some good horse paintings or horse photos, or goats or chickens, or whatever you have, send them in, and I'll see if it's something we can use. See if it's something we can use. I've been trying to rotate between people and still life and animals and landscape, because again, this isn't necessarily about getting great at everything, but it's about staying loose, whatever's thrown at you, right? Whether it's a palette full of paint or a still life or a landscape, how are you going to take that and from big to small turn it into something beautiful? And in this case, it has to be a beautiful pattern, a beautiful light dark pattern. And it's very much not a copy. You know, notice the shadow on the cantaloupe. I'm going to make basically the same value as the grapes, and then I'm giving a nice negative shape between the grapes and the cantaloupe. If you look in the photograph, that's not there. And again, as an effort to bring that part of the table forward. And why? Why would I do that? Well, because it's effective. Right? As I get rid of this light in the front of the table and get some heavier darks here. Right? So it's not necessarily quote unquote heavier than the grapes, but if you look at the size of it to the size of the grapes, it's a lot larger. And that helps add perspective. Oh, and smudging is so much fun. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. But touch is involved in this, right? If I press hard, I could take that back down onto an even gray here. So how hard you press. So pay attention to that. And it's the same is true with the paintbrush, right? What's the consistency of paint on your brush? How stiff are your bristles? What kind of surface are you laying that paint on? All of that matters because that determines how that surface will take that paint. And why does that matter? Because that's literally the mark that you leave. And painting is about basically mark making in patterns. So the idea on the top there is to separate that from the side plane. So notice that the shape of the flower, kind of crescent moon, is similar to the shape of the cantaloupe, but it's oriented different sizes. So there's repetition, but variety. Pardon the shadow over my face. After being in these video lights all day, they start to give me a bit of a headache. Again, not all that white is even, right? More to less, let it come and go. And remember how I told you that kind of just the white of the paper around the middle? Look at how all the activity weaves in and out of that light. The darks, the paper, the lights, the hard edges, the highlights. It's not scattered all over the paper, but it's concentrated in an area. And then through that area, it weaves and winds, near and far. All right, it's like if you're running errands, you don't want to run to this side of town and that side of town and then back down 30 minutes south, and then now we've got to go 75 minutes north and then 25 minutes south and west, and no. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much. Again, the way I see it is, and again, we all do for different reasons, but for me it's about art, and art is about beauty, right? And beauty is a lot just about naturalness, right? And it's not that a dark can look, it's just a dark light pattern, but we want the thing to feel natural. We want it to be organized, but we want it to feel natural. And what that is takes some time and experience, right? And it's as much about an emotional or spiritual feel as it is about any technical knowledge or ability. It's the last sketch club of the week. We can go out there a little bit, can't we? We can talk about stuff like that. Again, Jason? Yeah, why not? Again, each time I do it, and especially if I go inside and not try to overtake the whole thing, see how it adds a layer of richness? And then the way I angle those darks, is it straight across, is it diagonal? Either stabilizes or gives the thing energy. So it may look like I'm just randomly making dark marks, but I'm trying to make it into a sort of shape that moves you into where I want you to go without it being obvious that I'm moving you where I want you to go. All right, you know me, Jason Fancy Pants, sneaking around doing stuff. Just being sneaky. And again, that might not be your gig. That might not be your gig. Whatever your gig is, go for it. Go for it. But try to do it consciously, right? Try to think about what you're going for, and then see if the marks you are making are taking you towards that point. And when I say point, you can think about what you want, but I usually have a feeling, a mood in mind. Right? So even when I'm just doing a piece of fruit laying on a table, I try to think of a mood. Last night in Masterworks, we looked at John Carlson, 2 Winterscapes. And tonight at 8 on YouTube, we're going to look at Emil Carlson, who's a tonalist and very, very moody. Right? The tonalists aren't necessarily about making a physical place as much as about expressing a spiritual or emotional state. So those are going to be different shapes. Those are going to be different value relationships. Sorry, your TV's not shaking. I videotaped this last week's on a desk that's not as stable as it probably should. I notice it seems like my drawing's bouncing sometimes. And again, that little light on the table, it just reflects, changes subtly the shape of everything, and also the transition from the light of the cantaloupe down to the table, right? The connection between these darks, grays, and lights. It sounds simple, but it's really, really, really deep. Worth a lifetime of study, in my opinion. So how did you guys do? 20 minutes? Are you still sketching away? Well, what I've done this time for Rewind is I went back to the beginning just of the cantaloupe, and let's watch in under 2 minutes the whole thing come to life and see if we can't see these patterns. Starting with the vine charcoal, and then I go to my compressed charcoal to get those darker marks. Again, the vine charcoal is very forgiving, so I can put that in there and I don't have to commit yet. And notice how I'm working from the dark shape I'm expanding the dark shape, right? I'm not jumping to someplace new and putting something new in. And even on the table, right, it's like an extension of that dark shape. I'm trying to think of that as a single movement. Sometimes it's vague and just sort of floating out there, like smoke, vaguely in the air. And then sometimes it solidifies into a grape. And then sometimes it's solid but thin, not like a grape, not as heavy as a grape, but like a leaf. And as you begin to change what you think about and change about these dark marks and how you can make them, it's amazing how sophisticated you can get with that, and what just a brilliant and fun game it is. And then you can start recognizing other people through history who've done that through their work. So once you know how to read it, then you can have the best conversations with all the masters of the past. And as you discover what they did, open your eyes and inspire you to new heights. Well, everybody, that's the show for tonight. Thank you so much. That's the show for the week. So Sketch Club is going to be back Sunday for 4 5-minute sketches. Please remember, if you think you've got something that's worth sketching, send it in to us. Love to see it. Can't guarantee it's going to be on there, but if it works out, we'll put it on there, and that'll be fun. All right, I appreciate everybody. Have a good weekend. If you want to see some George Innes, tune into YouTube Meyer Studio at 8 o'clock, just over half an hour from now. All right, thanks for all the love and support, everybody. We'll see you guys soon.